to a new episode of Nonstop Nikhil. But I am here at the Goha Hotel, where I've been staying here in Gondar, in the north of Ethiopia's Amhara province, not far from Tigray. And I'm just taking a very, very slow morning today. It's probably around 11:30, and I just had what I consider to be breakfast, what the waitress considered to be lunch, a cappuccino, which kind of just tasted like weird chocolatey coffee water. And then I had the injera with a shiro, another type of shiro, which I guess is like lentils. And then it was like a very like mushy, dry lentils. So I will definitely be full for the good chunk of today. I think here with the injera, it's just like keeps you really, really full to the point that you maybe only really need breakfast and then one meal later on. But even that is like kind of optional. I think like 1.5 meal will keep you full during a day here in Ethiopia, and you're not even being that active. So it's very okay to eat that much because the food here is so filling otherwise. I'm just walking around the grounds of the hotel because there are beautiful vistas from the top of the hill where this hotel sits. You can see all of Gondar, the nature, and the little like lake behind me. You can see the city up in front of me. And other than the views, there's also a swimming pool here. There's like obviously one white guy lounging by the pool on this chaise right here. But other than that, there was also a wedding here last night, which I told you I could hear the music from. So that whole setup is also here right behind me, right by the pool. And then we've got the hotel and the restaurants right here as well. So it's a great view from the restaurant if you're having lunch or dinner right up there. And the weather is so nice. I mean, it's a bit sunny, but as long as you're in the shade, you get a nice breeze, and it's not bad at all. This is probably the first country on my travels so far that I see that there is such a big diaspora community all concentrated back here in the country. And so I'm seeing so many people from the US, as I mentioned before, and it's so obvious when somebody is from the US, and it's not very evident when you just spend your time in the US and that just becomes what's normal, and it becomes very normalized to be wearing branded clothing and have branded merchandise and branded bags and I don't know, shoes and the like. But when you're in Africa and you don't see much of that stuff because that stuff is very, very expensive. It's expensive in the US, but it's commonplace in the US. And however, it's not commonplace here, and it's super expensive, and whatever you do see here is either secondhand clothes or it's fake. And so when you see so many people like, wearing Patagonia shirts and jackets or like Nike or whatever it is, like, you're like, wow, that's really strange. Like, that's not what's typical in the rest of the world. You can definitely point them out and be like, they are definitely American. But it's a great conversation starter because literally nobody else dresses like that in the world. So after lazing around a little bit, I left the hotel, and the shuttle was leaving at around the same time, so I just hopped on the shuttle that was dropping another family off to downtown. So I'm here now just walking around. I know I still need to make it to the Facile des Beth and then the Debre Selassie, something like that, church. And they're both on opposite sides of town, so that'll be interesting to see how I'm going to do that. But those are two of the three sites after the royal enclosure that we visited yesterday, so I have to make sure I see that if I have all this time here in Gondar. But for right now, just chilling, getting accustomed to the people watching at this little park. This is like stairs heading up from this like open area up to the other part of the city, and then there's also just people like sitting around. There's cafes, there's coffee, tea, people's like serving tage, I think is like the honey wine. Other than that, there's like all these youths joyriding, doing donuts around on their bikes and motorbikes. One just actually hit the ground and crashed, and then the motorbike fell on top of him, and everyone was running to like sort of pick up the motorbike from him. But yeah, it just seems like today's Sunday or Monday, I don't even remember, but people are just sort of lazing around. I think they're probably still on their Timkit holidays, and so it's still very chill, very quiet. But every day, the traditional clothes, the number of people wearing their white traditional clothes is steadily decreasing. Seeing all sorts of different colors and different type of wardrobes out here now. But yeah, just figured I would do the vlogging stationary while I get used to walking around and vlogging again. But we'll see how that goes. I think Gondar should be fine, but you always want to be wary, especially when you are new to a place and new to a culture, don't speak the language, and don't know how to read the situations that you're in. So I just made it to the Facilitas baths. I definitely think I took some illegal path to get here because this is not, there was no ticket office, there was nothing, but there was this like stairs made out of branches and you jump over them and you get down and you come through this like little small door, and I see everybody else though on the other side of the pond. Oh, it's not a pond, on the other side of the baths. These used to be like what we saw in the palace earlier. These used to be royal baths for the royalty. So for Fasilides. Fasilides was one of the emperors of Ethiopia, and so this was his like large swimming pool. And people say it was might be even like one of the first swimming pools of the world. Yes, and typically like if you Google search Timkat, you'll probably see an image of this spot because this is the most prominent spot to celebrate Timkat in Ethiopia. You would see it in the evening. There would be like lights all around, be like people gathered all around, and this is where you'd want to be if you could choose anywhere to celebrate Timkat. But we just missed Timkat by like a day or two, so it's completely empty and we have the surroundings all for ourselves. Timkat Bahar? I don't know Amharic, but they will know Amharic.
Okay, thank you.
It completely makes sense why Ethiopians would want to celebrate one of their most popular, most sacred holidays here, because it's a gorgeous location. But not only that, but Timkat is all about the baptism of Jesus. So you want a body of water to make that baptism feel real and authentic and meaningful. And so many people would come here because if you're celebrating in Addis like we saw in Janmeda, there is no water there, so you'd have to bring a huge vat of almost like a backyard swimming pool, and then all the churches would gather there and perform their rituals to represent the baptism of Christ there. However, you've got a gorgeous body of water here. It's usually serene when this machine generator thing isn't running. And just like look at how gorgeous it is with the green, and then imagine it at night with all the lights surrounding it and everyone's wearing white. You have to look up images. It looks ethereal. Apparently this generator noise that you're hearing is actually a pump, and they're pumping out all the water from the pool because it's only filled during Timkat when you want to recreate the atmosphere of that baptism. I know they're pumping out all the water, and the pipes are kind of like taking the water just out into the middle of nowhere. Like it's literally just like flooding out onto the ground. So maybe it'll just help for grass to grow or whatever. But it seems unfortunate that you would only fill up the tank for Timkat because if there isn't water here, I don't know what the ambiance would be like. It would just be more brown on brown on brown with the green surrounding, I guess. But when you have the green of the plant with the green of the water reflecting the structure in the middle of the pool, like that's what creates the ambiance. So if you want to come, you've got to come in early January for Timkat. And so much of the structure here has been enveloped over time by plants and roots and the like that it's so hard to tell where the monument actually starts and where it ends, because I also think that there is another mausoleum on the same site, but it's not a mausoleum to a human. It's actually a mausoleum to one of the emperor's most trusted horses. It's believed that that particular horse, I believe it's called Zoble or Zobel, that particular horse saved the prince when he was attacked by enemies or like another bunch of animals or something like that. And then it was able to quickly bring the prince back to the palace, you know, vaulting over a huge fence that came in the way as an obstacle and getting him back home safely. And he loved that horse so much, he decided to even bury the horse in a mausoleum around here somewhere. So I am not really able to tell where it is, but because of all these walls and everything, so I don't know. I'm just going to tell you that story and leave it at that. If I come across it, I come across it. If I don't, then I won't. at the sanctuary of Debre Berhan Selassie. It means Trinity and Mountain of Light in Amharic, and it's one of the most celebrated, sacred, and most beautifully decorated churches here in Ethiopia. I was shown the inner sanctuary by the priest himself, and it's so interesting because right before they open the door, they bow their heads to it, they kiss the door, and then they unlock the door to enter the sanctuary. In fact, up until today, only men are allowed to enter and exit through the front door of this church. There is a side door around on the side where women can enter and exit. What really makes the church special are the paintings and motifs inside. They're meant for Christians who are illiterate, and so through the motifs they're able to recount so many different Bible verses and stories, and do so all through pictures. Those of you who are more familiar or well versed in the Bible than I am will definitely be able to recognize some of the stories through the motifs and murals that I'm going to be showing you here. I know there's something about cherubs going on, there are depictions of demons and hell going on, and there's of course Jesus Christ on the cross right at the middle of the altar. Other than that, the church is also surrounded by these 12 stone towers. They represent the 12 apostles again. I still don't know what an apostle is, but they represent those apostles. And there's also a 13th stone tower, which is actually the largest of them all, and that represents the Lion of Judah. Again, that's the thing, you see that lion everywhere in Ethiopia. I believe that's also the same lion that appears on the flag of Ethiopia. And I don't really know what a Lion of Judah is, but that's what it represents. The church was first commissioned and built in the 17th century by the Emperor Iyasu II. However, it was largely destroyed in the late 1800s by a raid by the Sudanese dervishes, and at that point it had to be rebuilt, and so a lot of what we see today is actually the rebuilt version, but it is still glorious despite the destruction on the outside and despite some of the water damage that you can see visible on the motifs on the inside. It's still, given how old the Christianity practiced here, the Orthodox Christianity practiced here, dates back to in Ethiopia, you have references to Jerusalem everywhere rather than the Vatican or other centers of Christianity in Western Europe. And it's so interesting also because there's such a huge population of Jews here in Ethiopia, and so many of the Ethiopian Jews actually made Aliyah or emigrated to Israel upon its creation. And when I was even at the airport flying here from Addis, I saw so many people carrying bags with Hebrew writing on it. They were flying in from Israel, or I'm pretty sure the Israeli government would love more Ethiopian Jews to actually leave Israel and come back to Ethiopia, especially given all the discrimination that Black Jews or Ethiopian Jews have been facing in Israel itself. So I followed Google Maps to find a restaurant for dinner. We'll just have a very early dinner because I know I'm getting a little hungry now and I want to get back to the hotel before it gets dark. So I found this place. It had like a couple of reviews, 5 stars, all saying that the food was really, really good and tastes like home-cooked Ethiopian food. So I popped in, and it's kind of hidden, and everyone just speaks Amharic. The menu is only in Amharic, so I don't really know what any of it's saying, but I just showed them the photos that other people had posted on Google Reviews, and somewhat ordered whatever I'm going to get. So I think I ordered injera, obviously, with some sort of chicken thing, and some yogurt, because I was craving some yogurt. That was really that yogurt with like spicy sauce on it from the photos that really brought me here, because I haven't seen that elsewhere, so that sounds really appealing. And I think I'll order maybe one of the beers. I don't really know which one is which here, but they're all priced between 40 and 60 bir, which is just about maybe 80 cents to $1, which is a lot cheaper than the other restaurants I've been to. Probably half or even like up to a third of the price of other restaurants I've been to. So this is definitely local prices. But yeah, before this, I did go to the same restaurant I went to last night for dinner. I went to Four Sisters. I really like that spot. See, that's one of those places I would just want to sit where I can just feel like I'm comfortable. It's a very like upscale and international crowd. But yeah, what I had there was the tej, and that's like the national drink. That's like wine, water. I mean, it's a honey wine made out of honey and water. and it's like very lightly alcoholic. I think 4 to 7%, but it's really, really sweet. So if you're someone who likes really sweet wines, like, you would really enjoy it. It does taste very heavily of honey, though. I don't think I would need that again, but it was a good experience because I've seen literally watching just everybody drink that all day today in the park, in the restaurants, everywhere. So this is a drink that people make at home, so it's like very affordable and accessible to people, and it's just a part of the culture, so you have to try it.